Okay. Let's see if we've done this correctly. Oh, we sure have. Sounds good. Okay. I can hear that. I can see the chat in special circumstances. But more importantly, we can get right in to playing a little bit of Overwatch. Alright, I want to check something real quick, actually. Or, because I'd like to check anything, instead, we'll be loaded into a game. Okay. I forget that this mouse is very, yes. Bring me energy. Okay. Let's turn my sensitivity back down. Oh, I wasn't supposed to bubble you. It's okay. Go, soldier, go. I will push. Right, where'd he go? Hit me. I should have waited a little bit for that. Okay. Now I have the option to go in here and turn this back down to 20. Because that was about where it was okay to be playing on this sensitive mouse. Hit me. Thank you. I didn't need that other bubble. It'll be okay. Yep. Can't shoot through his feet. Let's see. I'm surprised I was in that long enough to support, but I guess it might be pretty slow. No, well, no, not just yet. I want to be able to look and see if I can make it more apparent when I do and don't have my bubbles. Ooh, 18 loot boxes. I didn't say it earlier, but I'll say it now. For whoever might be out there watching, this is the third installment of the Tiger's Den. We're playing Overwatch 2, and I'm just gonna sit and hang out. Oh, yes, change hero, because I want to see if I can make Zarya's self-bubble more apparent to me. Hero and HUD. Nope. What does projected barrier sensitivity on Zarya mean? Feels weird. Maybe interface? No, because that's... Yeah, I guess not. I'm just going to have to be more aware of the fact that that bubble does not last very long at all. Which is crazy, but it is what it is. A game found. Always, right when you go to do something. Love a little New Drunk City. Let's see how Zarya fares on it. Nope. starting to learn this character. She's very odd, right? In the sense that she's different than all the other ones that I tried to play. She doesn't have projectile. She's a hit scan hero. Unless you're using the right click. That's a projectile. You know, a lot of these characters just seem to barely like each other. Though, I don't know if that was Zarya and one of the, like, anti-watch people. I don't remember what they're called. The Hive. They're not the Hive. It's been a very, very short time. Bastion, please. Shoot me, buddy. I want that mech so bad. It's not right. Here we go. Oh, I'm coming. Oh, I should have bubbled you. I forget she can bubble other people. Man, that mouse is sensitive. I'm used to playing on fairly high sensitivity, but this is outrageous compared to what I play with. Okay, they should be coming from over here. I don't want to hold. Oh, well, I don't want to fight a widow in there. Oh. Oh, no. I got turned around. I flicked just a little too much for that. Get out there. You want out there? Get out there. Here we go. I don't think D.Va's the play here. Again, I am fairly new to this game. I don't think I have the authority to say what is and is not the play. Especially compared to some of the things that I've been doing in this game, even. But I don't think D.Va's the play. They're trying to C9 us. I refuse. Who's in here? Bastion? Not happening. Get out of here. Anyway. I love a little Flashpoint. I don't get to play enough Flashpoint. Playing comp. Hello. Sorry I can't jump up there. Don't you dare. What are you trying to do? I don't care. We have Flashpoint to collect. Gotta go grab that Flashpoint. Ooh. I will say, Zarya's melee is very satisfying. A very firm punch. Okay. We're here, attacking, objective. And D.Va's back. Hit me, D.Va. Hit me. Oh no! Not the nerf. I think I got her anyway. Where are you? I will stagger you to high heaven. We have a Moira? We have a Moira long enough to get Moira ult. I didn't know we had a Moira. That's kind of crazy. Not even gonna lie. Hello. Echo has been very popular. I think try and walk in front of some damage here. Ah, they're being smarter now. That's not fun. I mean, it is. I should want them to be smarter at the very least so that when I play against people who are smarter than them, I have experience. Woo! I don't like that. I don't like anything that's happening there. I should have picked my perk before doing that, but yeah. They'll get it. We'll respawn. We'll go back. Please play together. That's fair. I think Ash was over there by herself after we all died, so That's fair. I would have been one of these supports running in here by myself. Go. Go, Echo. Hit me. Hit me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Ooh. I'm sorry. Echo just used her ult to copy Mercy? That was what was said? I heard that. That's wild. I'm wasting my time here. Oh. Oh, it was their Echo, I think. Intriguing. I helped not at all with that team fight, and I hope everybody noticed. Ooh. Alright, here we go. I just keep, like, flicking my mouse around and getting lost. There's this little hop thing you can do. Oop. And I don't know how effective it is at speeding you up, but it might get you above some of these barriers in this next flashpoint. Barriers. What are you guys fighting over there? What way am I taking to the flashpoint that I'm not getting immediately ran into the enemy and you guys are? Like, that's a little crazy to me. You guys here yet? Cool. I'm surprised I beat them here. Here, you wanna shoot me? Shoot me. Come on, shoot me. I was about to say, I'm sure somebody will shoot me if I'm down here. Okay, nope. Do I have a bubble to save me from that? I don't think it would. It could, maybe. If they let it. I think it makes some semblance of sense for that. But we'll just have to find out. I apologize now in advance for anybody that may have joined the chat in between the last time I looked and didn't see anything in there. And now, I am new to this whole streaming thing and don't know how to get the chat window to where I can see it consistently anymore. Oh, look, the Bastion's learning. How dare he? I'm not learning. I'm still sitting here doing bad things. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. Let me get back here. Let me grab this. Because I would love to project a barrier somebody to help them not die. That'd be wonderful. Okay. Okay. Mini's down. Okay, that was a solid loss of point. I should have stayed on point. This. I imagine it might help you get up that, but it looks like you can just jump up that, which is probably designed that way so any character can get up there. I bet Bastion could jump it. Can't see chat. Have to look at it in between matches. But that'll be okay. Alright, Diva, turn around. Shoot me. Shoot me. You're suffering massive damage. Here, we're here now. Yes. Target me. No more mech. I got that projected barrier perk and I have not projected my barrier onto anyone yet. Ooh. Looks like somebody left and then somebody else is having issues joining the game. I did load this up and it kicked me off the server, which is kind of a crazy thing. Hit me, Bastion. I dare you. Ha. Don't ask me about the projected barriers. I don't know how to use them. I don't know who to put them on without communicating with the team a little for that. I feel like that would make that easier. But as far as, like, these random people in this lobby, nah, I don't know. I just put it on whoever seems to be struggling a little in the moment. Oh, look at that perk. Anyway, Oh, wait. I hear turret mode. Can we just laugh at that reaction time for a minute there? I said that I heard turret mode so long after hearing turret mode. Like, for sure. I heard that. Had to hurt. Alright. Don't want to see play because I want to check chat. Howdy. What perks? Well, so specifically the ones that I was using in, Zarya gameplay. Yeah, first time Zarya gameplay. Our first time chatter, Brosslayer, one of our, JV Overwatch team peepers. What are we called? He's my teammate on the JV Overwatch team. Players? We're called players. That's what they're called. So the perks that I was using specifically in that match for Zarya, I ended up picking this first one, Gravitation Crush. It lets your surge, your gravitation surge. I'm assuming that's what the ability, the Q ability is called. Still very new. Still don't know the names of everything just yet. It lets it deal up to 30% of enemy max health as damage over time. So when I use my grav, I take these guys who have yay energy, yay health, and it'll do damage to them over time up to 30% of that, right? I like that one. I think the other option is barrier penetration. I'll have to switch out and see, but I used that one. Oh no, there's the beam penetration. And I used spotter this last time because I typically have been taking the particle cannon, the energy lance, where your particle cannon's beam pierces enemies while it's over 50%. And I say typically in that I've played a total of 3 games as Zarya now, and I choose that one in 2 of them. But this last one, I decided to go with spotter because I was trying to experiment with projecting barriers more often. And what that one does is it gives your allies health regeneration and increases their movement speed by 15% whenever I activate it on an ally. So these guys over here, he's got a little boost of health regen, I think, maybe. That's how I understood it to work. These guys aren't actively healing themselves for any period of time, so that might be why that's not going up there. But it also gives them increased movement speed. So if we change these guys to our teammates and let me charge Bubble, he'll start moving a lot faster. He might even be... Well, you probably won't heal any. You might. Are you getting healed while you're sitting there? They might be healing a little bit. Zarya's bubbles only last for, like, the briefest second in time. Maybe, like, a second and a half. Or even just a half a second. Really, I haven't figured out quite how long they last just yet. But it's not very long. And that's just kind of, like... That's the thing I'm struggling with her right now. But those are the perks that I was using that time. So let's change and see if I can... show off the other one, because I think I've used the other first level perk. Oh, sweet. If you're playing in a game... Oh, so the other first level perk is this. You get to jump higher. I personally don't really have a use case for this just yet. Maybe exactly that kind of thing. Because I can't make this jump. I'm sure somebody that is much more skilled at Zarya than I am has a use case for that, but I don't have one right now. 30% of enemy's health plus the damage it would have done. Okay. Okay. That's understandable. So the Grav Surge does its own damage in the first place, is what I'm hearing. It does. Okay. So it doesn't do a whole lot of damage to begin with, but whenever you add that second ability onto it, or that second perk, onto it, it really does increase the amount of damage that she's doing. Let's see it. Just one more time, now that we know what's going on. Ooh, oh yeah. Eating away at those health bars. Zarya is an interesting one. Alright. Let's queue up another game. I would say maybe we take her into competitive. But I recently got my competitive tank to rank 3. I don't want to do anything to that isn't intentional, because that's cool. I think it's really cool that it got up there. I guess here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna flex queue. I'll probably get tank games anyway. And if I flex queue into something that isn't tank, I will explore other perks, other heroes, and if we are in tank, I will play Zarya, because that is my mission this week, is to learn how to play Zarya. Ah, crazy. Rialto, that's, which one do I think this is? It's Payload Rialto. I know what map this is. I want to let the other support pick, if possible, because I want to choose someone new. Okay, let's do Kiriko. I've played Kiriko a whole one game, I think. I understand the vague idea behind her. I do not fully understand the idea behind her. So I was going to let the other support have her if I got a late start to the party, so I'll get up here, fix that. I'm going to hide in this building over here, I think. I think I can sit right about here, get good heals on tank, and be able to, like, boom, Suzu somebody. Oh, look at me. I scope out a position that I'm okay with and want to stay in, and then I'm like, oh, but what if I did... But what if I use these projectiles to really... Get him. Hello, a barrier to my existence. Hold on. Hi. Oh. Huh, you're not getting me anywhere. I see how it is. What am I doing? Healing the enemy. Okay. Our junk is up there. Here, I'm gonna hang out with him just for the period of time in which... Okay. I'll figure this out. Maybe. I understand the basics of her aiming. She throws projectiles that are knives and look really fast and have the really fast sound effect, but realistically, these knives travel so slow when throwing at a distance. Oh, my bad. I feel like that's on me. I feel like all of this not healing thing, as a healer, I think that's on me. There's a widow here. Can I hide behind you? Hello. Are you just not doing things? I'm being stupid. So yeah, probably. Oh, that's not a widow. Yeah, it is. Is it? I don't know. Ashe and Widow, I think, have Red Riding Hood-esque skins, and it makes it just a little hard for me to know which one's which. Based on the sound, I don't want to be in there. I know I'm supposed to be, that it is an Ashe. Okay. Oh, wait, no, you're our Ashe. Nope. Nope. I tried to get up there. How long does... I wonder if I'm using the teleport, like if I should be holding it instead of pressing it? I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. It'll take a minute. But we'll figure it out. No. Anyway. Sorry, I just randomly had the thought after seeing... What was I doing up there? It's quick play. This is why we're doing this. It was just us. I don't know what I was doing up there. She says we're done playing around. I don't know if we are yet. Probably not. Bastion. My bad. Ooh, Sisei Kwikiki. Heal the wall. Okay. Yeah, we got this. Did you see me cleanse him of the Discord? I feel like that was play of the game. The play of my game. A perk. Projectiles. Seek critical health allies. Yes, please and thank you. I feel like... It is a widow. I knew it. I knew I recognized that projectile. Oh no. I was a little late. I got distracted by the widow. Get him. I'm being crazy. Here, hold on. Hold on. Bastion, no. Bastion, no. Come here. I should use this at some point. Here we go. Take it, Malga. Take the take the Kitsune. Woohoo. Okay, we got it. Maybe. 5 minutes, we can do this. Maybe I'll do something that earns me my ult by the time they get back up here. Probably not. Honestly, if you've seen this gameplay so far. I'm trying, but it's not working. That's got like a 13-second cooldown. Maybe I shouldn't care as much if he's got Discord on him. I don't know. Discord's the only thing that I would need to like Suzu at this point, I think. Ha! Death. Yeah, get me just a little bit further away from all that. Come here. I want to attack. Nope, that's a bubble. Hello. Get in there. I dare you. No! I should have gotten in there. That's a shield. It's okay. It's okay. Who's got play of the game? Because it wasn't me. I don't think it was me. Yeah. I just endorsed the Malga and thought, oh, I should maybe endorse the Ashe. Because she's been doing great. I saw that in the queue. The death queue on the right. But did not. Proceeded not to. New Bluetooth controller found. There's probably someone in there. Every single time, I think that I'm gonna go and do something to keep you guys entertained while we're queued. And then we're queued. Zarya! Here we go. We're doing it again. She takes that big pose. Crazy. Hey! You guys will get to see some actual Kiriko gameplay, maybe. I bet that person's played that character more than 2 minutes. 3. Each match that I've played probably only lasted about 5 minutes. 10 minutes. We'll say I played her for 10 minutes. And that's about all. They've even got a skin. Well, I've got a skin for Zarya, and this is the first time I'm playing her. So. Oh, I love the Rainy Day Mercy skin. I really do. I watched so many hours. I probably would have done it anyway, even without the drops. But I watched so many hours of Twitch Overwatch content because I thought the drop skin for that was Mercy's Rainy Day. No, it's May's Rainy Day, which is okay, but objectively not as good to me. It's something about her staff being an umbrella that just really, it's great. I was about to say, is it another hog? Hit me. Let me stand in this pen for a second. So that when I do get eyes on that Mercy, I can just tear her down. I want to stay. Yep. Stay away from that. See, here's the thing. Oh, you can't block that. Why did you get over here? You're using the same skin as my Kiriko. That's crazy. So we played... I don't know why I did that then. Oh, you know what? I should be sharing the love. I keep using my bubbles on myself and only myself. And I should maybe consider not. Ooh, she's counting my bubbles. How dare she? This is quick play. You're counting bubbles. How professional of you. R.I.P. Me and my very bad bubble play. Here we go. Here. Hit me. I don't want that pot there. I appreciate the Kitsune. Oh, she left. Oh, I was out of energy. I didn't know that. I keep trying to mention that we played in our match last Friday somebody that played a Zarya into me playing Ram. Now, again, I'm quite new at this game, if it hasn't been said enough. And I had just been learning Ram. Feed me, Seymour. Oh, that's our cast. Okay. As if the other team has a cast. I wouldn't know. I'm really bad at, like, awareness. Why? Mercy. Come on. Anyway. They played Zarya into me playing Ram, and every time I put down one of my AoE attacks that I typically try to use to, like, capture some of the more, like, slippery, squishies in the game, they would just take a step to the right and get in it while in their bubble, which I have learned. Hear me out. I knew that the bubbles gave her charge. Everybody says don't charge the bubbles. I didn't know what don't charge the bubbles meant. Nobody told me that. Nobody shares this information. They just preach it to you. And so I asked while we were doing VOD review, I was like, what are we charging? What is the bubbles charge? And they're like, her energy beam. She does more damage if you hit it. And I'm like, oh, I understand now. I understand what we're charging. So now, when I see something like that, Sojourn's little thing, I like the pig pin. I've fought 2 Roadhogs at this point, and I keep doing it with the pig pins. I will just walk into them. I will let them... Why are you playing Zarya? Please go back. Go back to Roadhog. I don't want to fight you like this. Okay, I just don't want to... I mean, why? Why are you going to act like I'm going to hit you in the bubble? What does it get me? You're dead now. We figured that one out. Me and this Kiriko. And now she's off doing probably more helpful things than trying to capture a locked objective. But I do what I do. And what I do is my best. I like to trigger the pig pins on purpose. Well, now I'm shooting bubbles again. I like to trigger the pig pin on purpose and then get up in there and let it charge my bubble. Weep. Don't do this. You attached it. Oh, so that's a really cool thing that I can bring up. I think I'm getting revived. Sojourn has one of her abilities where she can attach her nade to people. And her nade does that whole pulse effect, right? Which is like crazy. I need to leave. I don't know why I keep doing that. That is not a good choke for me to hold as a brawl character. Ooh, we gave her a lot of charge. I also have charge. But she's got it too, and that makes this not great for me. Okay. No! I tried to bubble my way out of that, but I think I missed based on how much damage I took. Thank you for the Suzu. Where are we Kitsune? Oh, there's a whole Hanzo over here. Got it. I'm going. I'm walking fast. I'm trotting in. I'm gonna eat a couple supports for dinner. There we go. Just one. Just one, but one's good enough. I was about to say, is anybody here? She used her Suzu. There she goes. Here I am. In the middle of this horrible, awkward situation. I know I shouldn't solo ult people sometimes, but sometimes I'm just trying to recapture objectives. Alright. Overtime for why? Who's here? Nobody's here. Was it because they were alive? Was it because they were all dead? I don't know why it went into overtime. That was a little confusing for me. We'll find out. Don't forget to endorse your supports. As every tank should. A play of the game! Hopefully it was whenever I solo ulted the... Oh, this? Nah. Nah. This was not okay. I didn't get 2 supports. And then she did something over there. I don't know what. Alright, we'll requeue. We'll close that out. We'll give me my mouse. Nice ult. Don't shoot the bubble. Solo could change the whole game around, but it's one of those things where some people do it calculatedly. Some people look at things like how much percentage they have in the game and how much time's left in a match, and then they decide whether or not they're going to solo ult. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to play another character that I'm going to be horrible at real quick. I don't do that when I decide to solo ult somebody. I go, oh, I need this point back. And you're the only one here. And your teammate's going to be dead for a very little while. I will simply hit you. Now hear me out. I don't play Lucio. The one thing I do know about this guy is that he does that. He does that. He does that. These are projectiles. It's a 3-round burst. They kind of float a little whenever he hits it. But they stick pretty solidly. And he's got this. What is this? This is it? Yeah. We're running in. Anyway, I don't know what any of this does. I just saw that this map was vaguely circular, and I was like, you want to know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of Lucio. Circles. He's the circle guy. Okay. Crossfade. Pump up the tunes. I don't know if I can shoot my teammates as Lucio to get a little value off of that, but we'll find out. Okay, where's my tank? Not me turning my head to try and, like, see better as Lucio. When they're in my bubble, do they get any amount of healing? Is that a thing? We got League coming in. I can see him. I'm going to be the annoying Lucio player for a minute here that's not healing their team because they're not close enough. It'll be okay. I want to sit here. I just want to sit here. If nobody else is going to do it, I am. Yeah, just make sure everybody's... That's also a really long cooldown. I probably shouldn't use it like that. Oh, tank's dead. I almost had him. I almost had that cast. Should I have been fighting him like that? Absolutely not. But you know, sometimes you play the game to play the game, not necessarily to play it right. Speaking of, is anybody leaving with me? No? Okay, well then. I'll just take Lucio's little speedy skate skills and... Here we go. I'm just gonna... If I just sit here... Hello, Ryan. Up, 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 up. We couldn't. Though I will say, they're not doing very well at capturing the point back from us. Why are you reviving me? Oh no, I hate when a support puts their faith in me like that. We don't need this. We didn't need me, we needed a DPS. I know I'm playing DPS Lucio, but that does not mean that I count as a DPS. Fade back into healing. Ooh, that Ryan was a little salty with us. I say salty. He was probably just trying to play the game. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm up in here shooting bubbles all the time. Without any rhyme or reason, without thought behind my eyes. It's just bubbles being shot. What's up? Play a little Overwatch. Wee. Alright. I wish Lucio could climb up a wall while he's wall riding. Maybe he can. Maybe I'm not a good enough Lucio to know that skill yet. But it'd be cool if he could. I think I wasted that beat. No. That's not the right word. Beat is his ult. I believe. I amped wrong. I think is what that technically would be called. Ha! You didn't get either of us off that. Here we go. I can't do anything to help you. I don't think they let me heal with my projectiles. Oop. Nope. I refuse. I simply refuse. Hey guys, somebody needs to get on point. Oh, somebody was not me. There was a lot of people there. I'm surprised we captured point. I think me and half, not even half the team. There was probably one person that went and captured that objective for us. I was distracted. They have a round thing in the middle of this map. I didn't know what I was doing. I was wall riding. Ooh. Oh, they popped me out immediately on that. I love a good movement system. It will frequently be said as my favorite part of any game. Oh, wait. I have a perk. Let's explore Lucio perks. Soundwave knockback. Regenerate 4 ammo while wall riding. I'm going to do Soundwave knockback because I know that I can hit knockback on this map. Somewhere, somehow. Woo! I could have launched him off the map. I could have launched him off the map from all the way back there. That would have been crazy. He probably wouldn't have made it all the way, but it felt like he would have. Good perk. Probably, I would assume a Lucio main's favorite perk, unless they're one of those, like, battle Lucios. Oh, that's not what I meant to press. That's okay. What am I doing? I'm learning. That's what I'm doing. Maybe. If we want to call it that. I'm still here for some reason, doing who knows what. Nope, yeah, it didn't work. Okay. I'm not gonna switch off of... Ooh, especially not after getting the second perk. Down. Okay. Go, guys. Go, go, go. Hold on while I fumble every button in the game. Lucio's attack speed is increased by 50% while Amp It Up is active. Crossfade's range is increased by 150 while Amp It Up is active. Probably that one. Because I just tried to do that. Use my crossfade after... not even the crossfade. Because crossfade is just his passive thing. Which, yeah, I guess would be the better part to have. No. I was trying to use his, Amp It Up. Oh, I got turned around again. Sorry. We were having fun. Oh, this is going to be a wild one. I've seen some people do crazy things on Lucio on this map. I am going to refrain from doing super crazy things. Maybe, hopefully, sometimes. Right now I'm just hanging out around the team. Because they need me to. Stop writing for a second. I know that's your whole shtick, but hold on. Just for a minute. He's the one... Maybe I'll play a little Ana after this. I don't play Ana at all. Okay. Keeps letting me into... Bye-bye. Yes. Here we go. Let him run in. Oh yeah, we're helping. Me helping. I hit somebody in the head back there. It wasn't on purpose. Boop. Oh, that didn't hit anybody. I was about to say, are you gonna charge me? It feels like he's been trying to charge me, but I think I've just been standing right next to the Rhine. Ryan? Ram. Is people here? We're here. We don't need to be here. We don't need to be here. I'll do stupid things, but I won't do that. But I won't do that. Okay. Here we are. I've been trying to... Was I just accidentally pressing space because I'm playing Lucio and got very used to doing it? Yes, but it saved my life. And now I'm here doing stupid things, trying to end it. Okay. Come on. Oh, man, I was trying... Oh, I missed him. I also probably just couldn't do that with the, with his barrier up, but... You try for a boop when you see a boop. Okay, there's something. I kind of want that Juno, but... I don't care to try and master Lucio's floaty bubbles along with his speed. It's just kind of a weird one for me. Whee! I'm trying. I swear I am sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, other times I'm totally not. But, you know, sometimes. Go, 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 go. Who has point? We have point. Cool, cool, cool. Just making sure, like, get in there. You're so safe right now. Eat his health bar. Woohoo. I'm just gonna be down here for a minute, I think. Here, and I can hit that to cover everybody just real quick. Just real quick. Let everybody have some health. And then I'm gonna try and get back up there. That might be stupid, but I'm gonna try. Oh, no. Oh, no. No, no, no. Well, I guess I got a touch. Actually. 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 Oh! That was a very good Rhine pen. It's almost sad how good that Rhine pen was. Okay. Mercy endorsed for carrying the team. And then we'll see if I did anything helpful as Lucio. Must have done something. We gotta level up. Oh, I played as him. I see. Good enough. And I did all of my flexes. So, for anyone that happens to be out there listening right now, if you are one of the people that play Overwatch in esports, please hear my call. A couple of us are hoarding our loot boxes so that we can do this giant loot box opening stream. Okay? You get them for doing weekly challenges, for doing so many other things. They've been in the game for actually just a week. I have 19 saved up already. So even if you didn't keep, even if you've opened some already, please try not to open them so that you can join us on the loot box stream. Even if you don't want to open yours on the loot box stream, watch us open ours. You'll see everything that can come out of them by the time that we open however many we're going to end up opening. I can almost guarantee it. I do believe that is going to be all for this one right now. I know that we have League of Legends coming up. We should have one of those stream cards up here. Do you know who else is playing tonight? We got League of Legends.
Rocket League and Fortnite and Street Fighter.
Rocket League, Fortnite, Street Fighter, and League of Legends. I know for a fact that several of those are very good games to watch, including and not limited to League of Legends and Rocket League. So, if you're interested in that, stick around, and that'll be all for this one.